Hey folks, welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today, I want to talk about a little bit about Zion Oil and Gas, and I just want to share some things that are on my heart and just some other technical things going into the month of June and where we are at right now. And folks, before I get into this, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information and giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. So if you guys like these videos that I make, the support links are down below in the description and also the About section of YouTube. All right, folks, so let's talk a little bit about Zion Oil, and let's try to be real about the situation. And that's what I've just, over this last year, especially, I've just been trying to be real about the situation. I got involved in Zion Oil and Gas around 2017. And so I've been in this for a very long time. And before I even started making videos, and I just kind of like today, I'm kind of like a lot of other people. You know, people are very excited about what's going on, and I've been through all of that. And actually, people have been in this a lot longer than I have. And, you know, people always try to say I'm being negative about Zion Oil, but it's really about reality because I was there for MJ01. And I was like a lot of people who are just now getting invested in Zion Oil. You're excited, you know, you have faith and you believe. And we should. But this situation is not always about having faith. And when I look at the chart from the very beginning, right, let's go back, right? Let's go back to history because I've did a lot of historical videos about Zion Oil and Gas. And you can see here that going back to January 5th of 2007, you know, Zion Oil was at $12.50, and there was another time here where it was at $14.65, and there have been people that have been invested and were buying at these levels and have had faith this entire time all the way up until right now. So a lot of people have actually lost a lot of money. There were people that put in $10,000, $5,000, $1,000 at these different points, and they've lost a lot of money since then. And so for a lot of people, this is not a game. This is reality where people have lost the money. So people can criticize me all they want, all day long. You know, I don't really care what people think about my opinions about this. And the more I get involved in actually learning how to trade, the more wiser I have become in trading at Zion Oil. When I first got into the Zion Oil, I didn't research how oil was produced. I didn't research how long it took. I didn't research how to trade. I was just buying and holding like most people that are involved in Zion Oil and Gas right now. Most people are just buying and holding. They don't know anything about swing trading. They don't know anything about technicals. They don't know anything about reading the charts. And as I do that, I become a better trader, you know, and that's one of the things that people who get involved, especially if Zion Oil and some of the other stocks you might be invested in is, you know, if you're going to invest into a stock, you might as well take the time out to learn actually how to trade. Take the time out to how to read charts. Take the time out how to swing trade. You may not always swing trade, but if you learn how to do those things, you'll become a better investor. And you won't just blindly go in because somebody says they think they have oil and then you dump all your money in and you don't even look at the technicals. And a lot of people, you know, as I have shared, and I told you guys that I believed at some point, if it wasn't for the war in Russia and everything that's going on with the oil prices, I said Zion Oil should have went down to about 5 cents. Well, it actually went down to about 10 cents. And people were still pouring in their money at 30 and 25 and 20 cents, you know, and actually reached all the way down to 10 cents. And it wasn't being negative. That was just looking at the reality of things. And when you hear these stories, when people write or when they make comments and they tell me, you know, I put in $10,000 when Zion Oil was at $10, you know, so they've lost all their money and they've been holding. But that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that people who have been in this for a very long time, if you've been in this for years, and, you know, your biggest mistake probably is that you never really sat and learned how to trade, especially if you've been involved with Zion Oil for, you know, since 2007 or 2009 or, you know, whatever the case. You should have taken the time out to learn to trade. You know, if you can take time out to watch movies and TV shows and political news and all that stuff, then you can take the time out to learn how to trade. You may not get it right away. It might seem difficult. It might seem hard, but eventually you will get it, or at least have a better understanding dealing with the stocks that you're investing in. Because right now at this point, if you invested a lot of money in the very beginning of Zion Oil, and I'm sure there are people that were, you're down 97% from all time, right? And if you were investing when it was at this point here, when it was at $14, you're down even more money. When people talk about, like, I don't have faith or anything like that, you can talk to those people that have been in this for a very long time, and we could talk about faith. Okay, talk to those people that have lost tens of thousands of dollars hoping to strike oil. And the number one reason why I'm even invested in Zion Oil is not because necessarily to make money, because when you learn how to day trade, you can make money every single day. You can make $5,000-$10,000 a day, and that's the point that I'm trying to get to. But I'm trying to do all these other things with the wealth transfer and taking care of other things, to where I can't necessarily try to do that, because you actually have to sit and watch and pay attention. But if you actually learn how to trade, then you don't have to worry about. It doesn't matter what stock it is. If you learn how to fully trade, where you're actually shorting, you can actually short a stock. I don't do that, but if you learn how to fully trade, as you can make money whether the stock market is going up or down. So there's always wealth transfer opportunities. You just have to learn how to do it. When I first got into Zion Oil, I was like a lot of other people. I was just like, Zion Oil is going to strike oil, and, quoting all the scriptures and being all excited like you see people on social media. MJ01 failed. I see the same comments and the same information that we're seeing now with MJ01, and there's no difference. Now, one of the things that I do want to share, folks, and you can go back and you can just type in Zion Oil and look at all my past videos. We have prophetic words from Kim Clement dealing with Israel and oil. And one of the things that I share with people, there's only 2 oil companies that are actually only allowed to explore in Israel. I believe that the other company, was already pretty too expensive to invest in, so that just leaves Zion Oil. And they are on a mission to find oil. And I have done many videos going back years dealing with Zion Oil, and you can see that a lot of my perspectives have changed, because I've learned how the oil industry worked. I learned Zion Oil's language, learning all the different things that go with trading oil stocks. Oil stocks are different from trading other stocks, especially if a company has yet to find oil, right? And as time has went on, I've learned about, shorting and fails to deliver, and adding those aspects into my trading, because those things weren't really exposed to that level until the whole thing with GameStop and AMC and a lot of other, and the short squeezes that were happening. And that's when the shorting game was really exposed. I did a video where I went over this was an old chart that I did dealing with MJ01, and I went over what the prices were, and currently right now where we are at. And you can see here, May 11th, we had that update, and they're talking about the ongoing operations include well stimulation and DST testing, right? All necessary equipment to conduct the well stimulation DST are in country despite the global logistical backlog. Now we can go back to MJ01 on May 17th in the same month, right? Just a different year. It says here, Zion Oil announced it expects to commence proliferation, stimulation, and flowback operations on its MJ1 well as early as next week in Israel. So we are basically at the same point in time that with MJ01 and MJ02 in the month of May. Now, as far as an official announcement, we didn't get an official announcement until November of 2018 that the well was not viable. And because we didn't really understand how the oil companies worked, only certain people who knew what was going on exited well before this time period. So we're looking about approximately from the time of the announcement of them doing the stimulation and doing all the testing and everything. It took 6 months to get an announcement. 6 months. And in that time of that announcement, and if you go back to May, you can see the pricing it was close to the $4 mark, and approximately in August, we were actually told that it really wasn't a viable well, but people didn't really pay attention, including myself, because I had faith in that they were going to find oil. The artificial flow rates were only 90 to 110 barrels of fluid per day. They kept doing more testing. They raised like another $5 million to keep testing this well, which ended up being a well that wasn't viable. So they actually knew 3 months after they started testing whether or not if they had a successful well. So even though that people like right now, they're like, well, they got the oil burn, they got the burn flame going, they got the tanks there going. Well, they had to do the same thing for MJ01. That doesn't mean they have oil just because they have those things on site. They had to have the same things on site to test this well. They had to have the same exact equipment they have on there right now. So to me, people, they continue to try to challenge me, and they bring me this information, and I'm like, okay, look, folks, this is the same information that we had on MJ01. And so my whole point of doing this is like, look, folks, I don't want, at least, especially the people that I have brought into Zion Oil, right? Because I can at least say the people that I know that I've talked to and have brought in over the years, going back when I was doing ridiculous videos and not really doing the research, right? It took me time to get to that point. And so I want to make sure that the people that follow this channel, not only do they at least try to make money, but also at the same time that they at least have an opportunity to exit when things don't work out. If you really learn how to read the charts, you're going to know whether or not if Zion Oil has oil or not. They dragged this whole thing out for 6 months, and when they realized that they really didn't have a viable well, they still dragged out for another 3 months. So I'm just trying to be real in this situation. And the other thing that I do want to bring up is that, where are the insiders buying at? Okay, where's the CEO and the people on the board? I'm not talking about stock options, right? I'm talking about actually buying the physical stock. And that's when you really know when a company, especially an oil company in this position, if they really have the information, if they know that they have oil, trust me, they are going to be buying stocks. When a CEO and the people that are sitting on the board are actually buying the stocks, right? That's how you know when there's something else that is going on behind the scenes, and they are not doing that, at least not yet. Okay, and there's also a warning that I want to talk about. This deals with tabstock.com news articles concerning Zion Oil and Gas. And I've just stopped reading these articles because it sounds like they are trying to really pump Zion Oil. Now, okay, and let's go back to December 22nd of 2019, okay? And this was when, after an entire year after Zion Oil had said that they didn't have a viable well, they weren't drilling, this article came out, and it said hedge funds have never been this bullish on Zion Oil and Gas, right? And I was even one of those ones like, oh wow, all the hedge funds are getting into it. But you know what? They were also shorting it too as well. And Zion Oil wasn't even doing anything. They weren't drilling any wells at that point. The well was already plugged up. So you guys have to be careful, because there's a lot of issues going on with Zion Oil. And I shared with you guys the shorting issues. Okay, and the hedge funds, and guess which was one of the major hedge funds that was shorting the hell out of Zion Oil, right? Citadel. And you know what they were doing. They're going around shorting all these different companies, and yet in having people like this write articles dealing with this. And just to kind of go over the short information, you guys can see that the shorts have really piled in. The shorts are kind of hurt right now. And, but it also depends on how much they can, wiggle their way out of this situation, right? And if they truly believe that they don't have oil, or they're going to find oil, even if they are hurting right now, eventually they're going to make a truckload of money if they don't have oil and the stock crashes. And it seems like the shorts are losing right now. but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to completely lose out. Now, if you go here to the short interest, the total number of open short positions, right? And as of May the 13th, 334,000. On April the 29th, there was over 1 million. And you can see the different numbers here. It's kind of odd and weird, you know, but you can see that the short interest has jumped up and down, right, throughout the whole time Zion Oil's been drilling. Zion Oil's been drilling for a very long time, folks. And this is, to me, this is not normal, right? When you look at the whole aspect of how long it takes to drill a well. Now, I know they have to drill deeper than a lot of other places all around the world, but it is interesting that it takes them this long. And this is actually going, like I said, on around the same time frame as MJ01. This is the other thing that I do want to bring up. And this has actually happened several times before an update that would have hurt the shorts even more. And remember what happened in January, right? The short interest dramatically dropped because they didn't know whether or not if this update was going to really hurt the shorts. And it was obvious to me that somebody knew that these updates are coming. And this actually happened twice where the short interest dropped dramatically. I discussed it on this channel, and it seemed like nobody cared. And I'm like, well, don't you guys understand that in a situation like this, if God is using Zion Oil, don't you think the enemy is going to come in? Don't you think there's Judases that are in the Zion Oil company? You don't think there's a Judas that's working on the well that has this insider information and they're sharing it with other people? They're giving people updates. They can't stop people from sharing information for those who are working for Zion Oil. And it was very obvious, very, very obvious. This happened twice. And I think that since I did report it, you know, when these updates were coming out, you didn't really see the short interest drop too much, maybe a little bit. But after these two major drops in short interest, you know, you didn't see the major drop right before the news release, exposing that information, right? Because it could lead to Judases in the midst of Zion Oil. You know, the whole purpose of shorting, right, is to keep companies in line. The people who are shorting don't believe that the company will do well, or, you know, maybe they have a product that they're selling that they don't think is going to last very long, or it's not a very good product, so they go and they short the company, right? But now it's used to destroy a company, and Zion Oil has did nothing at all to address shorting. And when you release an update after trading hours, right, that sends a signal to the shorts that you are not going to, you know, put out an update during trading hours. Because if you put out an update during trading hours, automatically, you know, even if it's just slightly positive, it's going to hurt the shorts. But they always seem to wait after trading hours, which I completely disagree with. You should put it out. You know, a lot of companies put out that information. They give updates during trading hours. And so that was one of the other issues that I do have with Zion Oil, is that they don't put out all of their updates during trading hours. They've had very positive updates, but then they put it out after trading hours, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, because then it has very minimal impact the next day. And so to me, if you're going to hurt the shorts, you're going to put out the updates, especially if it's a positive update, during trading hours. You know, and a lot of people did not care. I put out this information, and most people didn't even talk about it. So yes, I do have trust issues with Zion Oil, right? We had the whole thing with the emergency thing going from NASDAQ to the OTCs, which I understand. They should have did that a long time ago, and that hurt Zion Oil. They lost a lot of investors. They did it at the last second, and, you know, even a reverse split wouldn't even helped Zion Oil at that point, because you see where they are at now. It takes them almost 2 years to drill one well. So they've been drilling since 2021, despite COVID and the delays and all that stuff. It's still almost taking the same amount of time to drill MJ01. So to me, it just seems like these could be excuses. I have no idea, but we will find out in the end. And these guys have experience. You know, this is not just, you know, like they haven't been in the game. I mean, like I said, you go back how long they've been doing this. They have the experience. The other thing that I do want to bring up is the DSPP and, the American Stock and Transfer and Trust Company. A lot of people if they don't have oil, a lot of people that use that where they automatically make purchases, they're going to get burned because they're going to make purchases that are going to benefit them, not benefit you. And if you need to sell a stock and it's at $5 and you make that phone call or you do it online, hey, I need you to sell off some certain stocks, they may not get to it. And I've heard horror stories where the stock was at a certain price and they tried to get the DSPP to sell stocks, and when they did sell it, it was half of what they from the original phone call that they made. There's a lot of people that are on that program, but if you are going to be invested in the stock, you need to have control over your own investment. Take the time out to learn how to trade. Currently, right now, according to this information that I have, there are 45,700 individual investors into Zion Oil. And if at least half of those people learn how to swing trade and learn how to trade, you would be able to have more control over the stock. And I can guarantee that over 90% of these people that are invested in Zion Oil have not even taken the time out to even learn anything about how to swing trade, read charts, or anything like that, right? They're just buying and holding. I can guarantee that. Now, there are some people that I do know that follow this channel that did take the time out when I was posting about learning how to swing trade and have taken advantage of this, and they have taken 10,000 or 15,000 share positions to 100,000 position shares. Now, that has not at all hurt the company whatsoever. What hurts the company is that when we don't get updated information, when they make decisions out of the blue and they drag things out, when short positions pull out for a day, right, because they got the inside information, those are things that hurt the company. And yes, there is a lot of trust issues, but you look at that, according to this information I have here, there's over 45,700 investors. If everybody that is invested in Zion Oil took the time out, just a little bit of time, to learn how to really trade, it can make a very big impact on Zion Oil. You can go back and you can go look at the history of Zion Oil, and you can look at all the times that you've had opportunities to make money over the years, right? To the point to where you can control the float, right? If everybody took the opportunity to buy and sell when it comes to Zion Oil and Gas. And even now, yes, it is going up. And at the same time, like I shared with you guys, in May, we had similar announcements dealing with the testing and the flow and all that stuff with Zion Oil's wells, MJ01 and MJ02. So we're at that same point, but Zion Oil was on NASDAQ, which did allow Zion Oil to have a lot more investors. When you went to the OTC markets, they had to rebuild their investor base. So I want people to be successful in this, but people also need to be very careful going into the next several months. Because if we do get an update that kind of tells us that this oil well is not going to be productive, you need to be able to know that and be able to get out and not wait for another 3 months of testing just to find out the same information that the oil well is not viable. Because folks, if this oil well is not viable, you saw how long it took MJ01, and you're seeing how long it takes MJ02. And it's taking about the same amount of time, but if it's taking the same amount of time to drill the well. So if they have to drill another well, folks, if let's say this well is not viable and they start drilling again, it's going to take some time and the stock is going to drop like a rock. All right. And if we know that they have to start all over again in the OTC markets, this stock is going to be worth less than a penny. Okay. And that's when everybody would probably need to pile in. It'll be another long haul. It'll be another wait for them to get everything together to drill another well. But like myself, I believe in the future of Israel. And that's why I'm investing in Zion Oil and Gas. If this was a company that was drilling in Brazil and having the same outcomes every year after every well, I would not invest in this company at all whatsoever. There are companies that have producing oil right now that are cheaper than Zion Oil and Gas. Okay, so Zion Oil does not have any income. When Zion Oil needs money, they have to get it from you. Okay, so here pretty soon, if they know that this oil well is not viable, they will be selling shares. And there are two ways that you're going to know whether or not if they have oil. One, that when you see the people on the inside of Zion Oil start buying shares. All right, and then two, the charts. The charts will tell you where Zion Oil is going to go. Okay, and so whenever that announcement comes, like I showed you the one from 2018, and they were only able to get 90 to 110 barrels per day, that's when the selling really started happening, right? It was right before then. If you go back to the charts and you look at the time when they were doing their testing, right, there was a massive jump. Okay, and you can see when they were doing their testing, we're looking here at May, and from May to June, after June, the stock just dropped all the way down. Now, if they had oil, right, remember the August the 18th is when that update came out. August the 16th is when it dropped, and then it continued to drop. And then, of course, when they came out and said that they were sealing the well, then it dropped like a rock. So the charts are going to tell you also as well whether or not if they have oil. All right, so that's why you have to learn how to read charts, you know, and hopefully I'll be able to say, hey guys, I think they have oil or they don't have oil based from the charts. So I just want to let you guys know that this is not about, you know, being negative or not having faith, because you know what, folks, a lot of these people were going through the same thing. And I went through it with MJ01 with a lot of people that follow this channel now. You know, I was keeping up with Zion Oil. I had people that I know that were getting into Zion Oil, right? So I kind of looked like an idiot to those guys because, oh yeah, God said, and I believe, and I have faith, and you know, all this and all that. And then yet I look like the fool in front of other people. Okay, this is really about, you know, just wanting to prepare you guys for both. Because I don't know if they have oil or not. And there's going to be signs and indications that do tell us whether or not they have oil. And I've shared this before. And just speaking to Zion Oil, if you don't have a viable well, you don't need to do any additional testing. Just be done with the well and let's start all over again. Okay? And there's no sense of dragging this out, pulling your investors, you know, for another 3 to 6 months before we actually find out anything. Because it's not fair to us. It's not fair to the people that have been involved in investing. And, you know, folks, if they don't have oil, prepare for a penny or less. Okay, so that's why you need to have, in my personal opinion, at some point you need to put in your stop losses. Now, overall, Zion Oil is being pulled up by 2 or 3 things. And that's one, that is, more people are buying into Zion Oil. 2, oil prices are going up and they're skyrocketing. All right, and 3, there's the possibility that Zion Oil has either oil or gas. Okay, so those are the 3 major things that is pushing Zion Oil up right now. And if they don't have those things, then it's going to crash, and we're going to have to wait a very long time. They're going to have to raise money to drill another well. I've been through it, folks, with MJ01. So don't say that I'm negative. I'm just being realistic, okay? And I have faith, and I believe that they will find oil, and I pray that it is this time with MJ02 they have something, because they need to have something with this well. Now, if they do have oil, folks. Now, where do I expect this price to go up to? I expect it to go up to about $5. And a lot of people say, oh, it's worth more than that because of how much in reserves they have. Well, that's all fine and dandy if they can get to it. You have to understand how much it costs Zion Oil to drill each well. If they find oil, they're going to have to raise money for the next well. And they have to sell stock. So no matter where the price is at, it's going to come down. So you also need to be prepared to sell at the top, because the stock could easily, if it's going up to $5, trust me, Zion Oil is going to be selling stocks off. And so are a lot of other people, especially people that have been waiting a long time. There are people that do know that if it goes up to $5, it could easily come back down to $1 because people are going to take profits. Zion Oil is going to sell so they can raise money. That's just the reality of it. If it goes up to $5, it's not going to stay up to $5. So we are at this point now, folks, where, we should find out here pretty soon. I would probably say within the next few months, we should really, really know whether or not if they have oil, right? And I want you to be prepared for both ways. Now, very well, the stock could go up more than $5, right? Because there's going to be people right now that are listening are going to see it at $4 and they're going to see it skyrocketing and they're going to invest at $4. And there are people that when it reaches its peak, they're going to invest when it reaches its peak. Because guess what, folks? It's happened throughout history, and there's your history. That people will invest at its peak. It's going to be a very long time before that stock gets back up to that point. Because even if it does go up to $10, folks, it's going to come back down. The shorts are going to pile in because they know that they have to raise money, so they have to sell stocks. They know that they have to drill more wells in order to be successful. So there's a lot of different things that could happen. Now, I do want to address one other thing. People talk about if they find oil, they can get back on NASDAQ again and all that. And if they do that, you're really, really going to open yourself up to the shorts. And you're really going to open yourselves up to day traders, like on a massive scale. So those are just some things to think about. This is the last thing that I'm going to say. This is with all stocks. And eventually you're going to need to learn how to let go. And if they have oil, it's going to skyrocket. If you hold on to a lot of your stocks without selling anything, you're going to find yourself in a position to where you wish you had sold even some of your stocks. So you need to have a plan. If they find oil and you don't want to sell off all of your stocks, well, maybe I'll sell off half of my stocks and then wait for it to hit the bottom again and then take some of the profits and put it back into Zion Oil. So all the people that are excited about the burn flame and the storage tanks and all that stuff, that's all fine and dandy, but they also had to have that there for MJ01 too as well. I don't want you guys to have misinformation or to get excited about information that seems like it makes it seem like they have oil, but they had to have that there anyway for MJ01. So really, that is all that I have for this today, folks. So I hope you guys have an understanding of where I'm coming from on all of this. And I want you guys to be excited because we are in that position. But I also want you guys to be prepared. And if they do have oil, this is the perfect time to announce that they have oil because oil prices are very, very high. If you look at WTI crude, it's 120, Brent crude 121, Louisiana Light 118, Bonnie Light 124, OPEC is 114. So this would be the time, and we do expect it to go up to 200. All right, and that time will come at some point, but this is the environment where Zion Oil really wants to make that announcement. So hopefully, if they do, they'll get that information to us as quick as possible because that is the best thing Zion Oil can do is announce that they have oil in this climate right now, because that way they can raise a lot more money, oil production going. They can raise a lot more money in getting the next well set up for drilling, right? And get multiple drills set up. Okay, folks, so that is all that I have for today. So I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.